Hello, and thank you so much again for joining us on Get Lifted today. My name is Starla, and I welcome you again to yet another one of our brief informationals regarding different questions and again that people may have, and it's just a safe harbor to come visit and discuss any questions, comments, concerns, or just check in with the day-to-day ins and outs of life. We have a email from Red Frosting Delight. She always, or he, whoever it is, always has some really great questions. And so one of the questions that was presented recently was with regard to spanking. And at what age should you start spanking, if at all? We already know in the society that we live in, based on your age or your family's age or your time, that society has really taken a humongous and a pivotal change towards their views on spanking. So first of all, again, this response to Red Frosting Delight is not based on any particular agenda with regard to spanking. I would just simply say I can only speak from life experiences. I'm not a big proponent of spanking. I believe that knowledge is power. And I think the only way you can start really talking to a child when it comes to things like that, before you ever reach spanking, spanking should be a last resort. That's my perspective. Spanking is immediate, it's physical, and it gets there, and it may drive a point home. But at some point, that same child is going to have to possibly face that same situation and think through it. And I think it's better to arm them with some sort of knowledge if they're at an age of understanding. So the portion of the question was, is what age? At an age where, again, they are able to understand right from wrong. I don't think you can expect that from anyone under 1 year old. I don't think you can expect that from any child that's 1 year old. I think we have this underlying tone of terrible twos. I don't believe that a child necessarily has the ability to grasp the concept of right from wrong. They're 2 years old. I would say by school age, where clearly within the dynamic of our society, it has been, this is the age around 4 or 5, they're entering school, they're being able to take in information, process it on whatever degree or level. But between 4 and 5, or somewhere around that age, depending on the developmental skills of that particular child, they're able to kind of assess right from wrong. Really, by 5 years old, according to different educational tools, at 5 their personalities have already formed, and from there they're kind of going. So if you want to modify certain behaviors or thought processes, of course you want to mold them. But spanking should definitely be a last resort. I would say to you, Red Frosting Delight, that whatever the behavior is that is unacceptable, try to get to the heart of why does it keep occurring. You don't want to whoop them because they're wetting the bed. You might need to modify what time you're allowing them to get a drink. That's not going to change it because you whoop them, because they, or spank them because they're wetting the bed. You need to modify your behavior as the adult or the parent and say, look, we're going to cut off drinking at this time. We're going to use the restroom before we go. So depending on what the nature is of the situation that brings you to a point where you feel like you need to spank, is there another solution? Is there another approach? What can you modify as the adult and or caregiver or parent to help avoid having to experience the undesired behavior? If it is something not physical or things that you can control, like that example or hypothetical that was given there, but it could be biting or something like that, those are times where you need to talk to what is it that may be underlying that triggers a child to bite, or triggers a child to throw something at another child, or triggers the child to pull hair, do something that's undesirable. Try to get to the heart of what that situation is. Yes, I know that timeout is some big faux pas, and there's some people in some cultures that'll be like, forget timeout, I'm going to get, but in the end, I do strongly believe that if they're able to know right from wrong, they're also able to have some sort of a conversation, a dialogue with you about it. And if spanking, all else fails, we've talked about it, this is why mom, dad, or I don't prefer that you do this, that, and the other. You shouldn't bite because it's painful. You should not pull. You should not throw because you can put someone's eye out. We're going to cut you off from drinking. You should not, this, that, and the other. And you've had those conversations with the child. Try to explain the adverse effects of those choices, and the behavior continues, and you believe that that child was capable between changes you made and the child to modify it, and then the child still willfully makes the decision that they're going to do it or choose to do it, at that point, if you're going to spank, I would say maybe moderate to light. Okay, you're 4 years, you're 6 years old, maybe you're going to get 6 pats on the butt. I don't know. Again, that's a very, very tricky subject. And it's taboo, and it simply depends on where you're from, your immediate culture, your society, your family dynamics. Doesn't matter, even when it comes down to ethnicity, that's a very taboo type of a subject. But in the end, you are responsible for the caregiving and upbringing of that child that's been entrusted to you. And you want to do everything you can to make them informed so that they can take that tool and go forward in life as they grow to make choices and know that the results of those choices is definitely going to yield them something at some given point. And even when it comes down to, if you continue to choose this, the very end result may be that you're going to get your butt tore up. Or what can you do to change it so that you subsequently don't have to experience that. Sorry, no, that was a little bit lengthy, but I did want to at least make sure we try to cover all aspects of that, especially when it comes to a situation, because physical contact is really something you want to do your best to avoid. And like I said, even then, light to moderate. Never angry. Never would you want to engage anyone physically when you're angry. So definitely stop as the parent or the caregiver. Take some time, breathe, come back, discuss it, and maybe by then you'll get yourself together to talk to the child about it. All right, Red Frosting Delight and other viewers and listeners, thank you so much. Again, send your questions to www.getliftedtoday.com. We thank you so much and have a great one.